me!
It's too late.
X-Men Dark Phoenix was released in 2019 and directed by Simon Kinberg, who was also the writer, sole writer, I might add. So, sole blame. Point your torches and pitchforks at him. Now, this film was delayed and plagued with behind-the-scenes issues and reshoots and all that. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of films have reshoots, and I get that. And this film also was reviewed quite negatively, did not make its money back, and apparently is terrible. Now, I have watched it for the first time literally the night before recording this, so I'm coming at it from a fresh perspective, and I don't think it's too bad. It's not as good as it should have been, but then you notice I keep saying that in these X-Men film reviews, and unfortunately I think they, like I said in X-Men Apocalypse, they tried to go artsy-fartsy with this. Now, I think Sophie Turner's American accent is as good as my accent. I can't do an American accent. I have a West Country UK accent, and that's kind of what I stick to. Now, she is from the UK, like me, but she's obviously not from the West Country. So I find her accent very unconvincing. However, she does do a good job in portraying a torn and conflicted Jean Grey, but I think she went off the deep end very, very quickly. And I mean, the story follows Jean, and the X-Men for some reason have a phone like Batman did in the old Batman 60s Batman TV series that connects to the president, and for some reason the X-Men get sent into space to deal with a floating just a bunch of red spaff in outer space, basically. So that happens, and they go into outer space. It's all quite rushed, and then she sucks the Phoenix Force into herself, which is comic accurate. The Phoenix Force does look out and does go for her, which is pretty cool. And then she's miraculously alive, and there's like a cool little scene with Quicksilver and Nightcrawler in the spaceship and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And then they bring her back, and then her past, all the mental barriers, similar to X-Men 3 The Last Stand. Charles Xavier put mental barriers in her mind, and then the Phoenix Force is starting to break them down, and Jean Grey just basically starts falling apart. This film has a very slow start. There's not a lot of action in this film, unfortunately. When there is action, it's actually pretty cool and pretty good. Unfortunately, we only get like a 10% Quicksilver scene where they're trying to subdue Jean and bring her back towards the beginning of the film, and he gets outed and injured, and that's him gone until the very end of the film, where he just turns back up again to just tell someone to slow down. But Quicksilver gets thrown out of the movie, basically, which I think was a terrible idea. And like I said in my X-Men Apocalypse review, that film's biggest crime was teasing us those awesome costumes at the end, and then one of this film's crimes is not using them. They have some wanky costumes. Now, I know they are sort of comic accurate with a certain run of comic books. I get that, with the big yellow X on them, but I would have preferred their individual costumes like at the end of Apocalypse, because it individualizes them and doesn't make them all look like backup dancers for Beyonce. I think that was just a massive oversight, and it's probably done to budget reasons, because Fox were on their way out. Obviously, they were trying to work out the deal of getting sold to Disney, so I'm fairly certain that is what came. So the costumes are wank, and they are hardly worn. They're worn in the first part of the movie, and then the rest of the movie they're all in normal clothing, because the humans go from loving mutants to immediately hating them as soon as one of them does a bad thing. So everything in this film, it's an odd film. It seems to have a fast pace, yet feels sort of slow pace. That makes sense? Now, the film didn't drag overall, and it didn't go by too badly. And like I said, there is some good stuff in this, especially when they start fighting after a character gets killed by Jean inadvertently, and then some people go out for revenge on her, and then some other X-Men are trying to protect her, and that scene is pretty cool. And there's an awesome scene towards the end of the film on a train, which I think is pretty cool. Now, you get Jessica Chastain in here as some albino I want to say they're called the Shi'ar. Am I right? Please, if anybody is more of a comic book nerd than me, please comment down below. I haven't read the comic in a long time, but I think they're called the Shi'ar, and that's what they're supposed to be, aliens that follow the Phoenix Force because they want to use it to bring their race back. But unfortunately, it's just not delved into enough, and Jessica Chastain just goes around stoking the fire of Jean Grey. Which is basically her role in the film, and that's that. She's just bad guy, and there's no, because she's meant to be portraying an alien, there's not really much emoting going on there. It was cool to see Dazzler in the film briefly in a scene at like a little party outside of the X Mansion. That was pretty cool. And once again, Nicholas Hoult is fine, is good as Beast, but I don't think he's big enough. Beast needs to be beastly, needs to be bigger. It's always a complaint of mine. This film has a weird feeling. It's different from the other films. It's weird. It doesn't feel like an X-Men movie. It feels like X-Men things in a different movie. And I can't quite put my finger on it. Nightcrawler does have some good moments in this as well. He has a pretty cool moment where he's savaging some of the Shi'ar. That was really wicked, and he does do a lot of poofing around and stuff. But it's difficult to. This film is not terrible. I mean, I'm probably going to get flack in the comments for saying that. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it was Simon Kinberg was not the guy for the job, and I think that shows. And like sometimes people like I obviously, as a fan of comic books and games and stuff, I always say, oh, they didn't do this quite right. Not to say that I am the man to make it right. I have got ideas, but I think of the fans, whereas people don't. The big wigs at the studios don't. They think about how much money they can make and how much less money they can spend, and that's pretty much how I feel this film went. But I mean, I'd say it's worth watching at least once, just to finish off the old X-Men movies. I didn't hate it. I think it's fine. But I think the prequel X-Men movies should have had a better send-off than this. So hopefully, I say hopefully, because the MCU has gone downhill since Endgame. But I will review all the MCU movies at a later date. But for the time being, I'm hoping Deadpool and Wolverine is awesome, and we go on from there with awesome movies. But please let me know in the comments down below what you think of X-Men Dark Phoenix, and as always, thank you very much for watching.
We seek to destroy.